Today's webinar is moderated by Dr. Horst Heitz, chair of the SME Connect Steering Committee.
We're starting in 1 hour of power of information and discussion, 60 minutes for a very important topic, sustainable eating. How can we make the right food choices? I think every day we make these choices. And I read this choice is very political. It shows which kind of political mind you are. So there are studies from the United States who can say if what you eat in the morning, if you're a liberal, Democrat or a Republican. So I think so far we are not in Europe, but perhaps there's some trueness. I'm very happy that this event is hosted by Christine Schneider, member of the European Parliament, member of the Envy and Agri committees, EPP Shadow Rapporteur on Farm to Fork strategy, and chair of our SME Connect working group Health and Nutrition. And because we want to be fast, I give the floor directly to you for your welcome and opening. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Heinz. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry that I'm too late, but we have a very, very important political group meeting in the morning, and then I have different problems with the technique and with the light in Brussels. It's too shiny in the background, but now it functions. Thank you so much. Good morning to everyone, and it's a pleasure for me to welcome you on this event on sustainable eating, how to make the right food choice. Sustainable eating is about choosing food that are helpful to our environmental and to our bodies. What you choose to put on your plate can make the most powerful impacts on your personal environmental footprint. More and more people are aware of the impacting benefits nutritious food has on their health, but less is known on the impact the production and consumption of the food has on the world resources, such as of land or water resources, pollution, the impact of chemical products like herbs and rubber. The Farm to Fork strategy contains a roadmap for changing European food sustainability and empowers consumers in their dieting by 2030 under the European Green Deal. The strategy marks the beginning of a process aiming in fundamental change the way of EU agriculture operators and food is produced for and provided to EU consumer to live an active and balanced life. The nutritional behavior differs not only between statistical factors like gender and age. Preferences and aversions are caused by social and cultural conditions such regional cuisine as well as individual and social circumstances or living condition. To empower consumer to make the right food choice, we have different tools at hand. For me are the most importantly education and food labeling. Nutrition education and the understanding of sustainable product food is a vital part of a comprehensive healthy education and empowers consumer with knowledge and skills to make healthier food and beverage choices. We need to engage teachers and parents in nutrition education activities already in kindergarten and at school. We need to explain how the food is sustainability produced on farms and our process in our factory. Sustainable eating goes hand in hand with sustainable food production. The more sustainable one eats, the more sustainable agriculture and food industry will be. Research shows that nutrition education helps to recognize how a healthy diet influences emotional well-being and how emotions may influence eating habits. It's a circle. A crucial step in making nutrition and its effects understandable for everyone is education. With better knowledge, consumer will finally actively deal with hers or his dieting in a more and in a healthier, sustainable way. On my second point, food labeling. Food labeling is the basis for the consumer's decision on what he is buying and plays an important role towards healthier, sustainable, and safe food systems. Therefore, the provision on the relevant information is crucial. We need a compulsory, harmonized approach, and we need the same labeling in every member state, showing the relevant and comprehensive information for nutrition. My vision of a mandatory labeling is the provision of information on the nutrition profile, the origin, the compliance with animal welfare provision, and the sustainability to guide the consumer toward a healthier, sustainable, and safe nutrition. Additionally, we must provide more information via digital channels, maybe as a QR code, which provides additional voluntary information for agri-food products, the EU for healthy food in an active and in a more modern way. As I said at the beginning, individual nutrition is as unique as a fingerprint. And this is what we need to promote: empower consumer to make the right decision and respect their choices and our rich food diversity by helping our agriculture to produce these choices. I'm very much looking forward for our discussion today, and thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schneider, to give us this very good overview, and also that you brought the focus on the consumer and the market, and that education is the key to make the right decision, and information is empowering the consumers, and that you also say we need modern ways to inform the consumers. And I think this is a very good starting point with our keynote now with Alexandra Nicolacopoulou, Head of Unit Farm to Fork Strategy, Food Sustainability, International Relations from the European Commission, DG Sante. Thank you very much that you are here and explain us how the European Commission wants to empower the European citizens, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to SME Connect, and also to Mrs. Schneider for hosting the event. I think it's a very nice way to start our autumn period and start all the exciting debates that we will have after the summer vacation. And the summer vacation, I must say, was characterized in Greece, but also in other parts of the world, by heat waves, by wildfires. And this also reminded us that climate change is here to stay. And this brings us very well to the role of the food system and all the challenges that the food system is facing from an environmental, economic, and social point of view. And indeed, the Farm to Fork strategy tries to address all these challenges and recognizes the links between the healthy people, healthy societies, and a healthy planet. The strength and the particularity of the Farm to Fork strategy is that it aims to improve the sustainability at all fronts at the same time and in its three dimensions. And making sure that the Europeans have access to healthy, affordable, and sustainable food is one of the key objectives of the strategy. It was mentioned also by Mrs. Schneider, what we eat has a major impact on the public health, the economy, the environment, but our future also. And consumers, with our lifestyle and our choices, we all play a leading role in the food production system. I think it is also mentioned in the Farm to Fork strategy that our current food consumption patterns are unsustainable from a health, but also from an environmental point of view. So we need to change our diets, but how do we do it? The diets are not only an individual issue. There are many other factors, like the food which is available for offer, the price of the food, the information that we find on the labels, food marketing, and in general what we call the food environment, which impact on our dietary choices as consumers. Now, as Commission, and in the context of the Farm to Fork strategy, we are undertaking several actions to improve the food environment so that the sustainable choice becomes the easy choice. So let me highlight some of these actions. First of all, I would like to mention the code of conduct. The Commission has been developing together with the stakeholders a code of conduct for responsible business and marketing practices. What is this code? This code is a voluntary initiative which aims to encourage food business actors to increase the availability and the affordability of healthy and sustainable food options and to improve their sustainability performance. So we invited food companies and organizations to take concrete actions on health and sustainability. We asked for commitments. Commitments should cover the major areas of food sustainability, and this includes the promotion of healthy diets by fair marketing practices and also adaptation of advertising strategies. The code was first intended for the middle part of the chain, the middle actors, retailers, food manufacturers, food service, because indeed they play a very important role to determine how, what they buy from their suppliers, but also what they offer to their consumers. So this part of the chain is really a bottleneck, and their strategies can make or break this transformation. We put in place a very intensive collaborative process, and I could say that only in 5 months, middle chain actors, but also, and this is very much welcome, farmers and fishers have agreed on common objectives and targets that they want to make this shift happen. EU associations also, umbrella organizations, they support their members in achieving these goals. So today we have 79 signatories to the code, and there are 30 associations and I think 49 companies. And I believe this is very successful, and it gives a firm signal from the corporate world that they want to lead by example on this transformation. Maybe to give you also a little bit of a description on the commitments that we have received, almost all companies tackle carbon emissions and they want to be carbon neutral by 2050. And this demonstrates that the environmental aspects have a prominence when we talk about sustainability. However, many companies, they have also commitments to inform consumers better, to sustainable sourcing also. Circular economy is also a common subject. I find a little bit surprising that food loss and food waste lags a little bit behind in terms of commitments. Front of pack labeling also is part of their commitments, and all this is very positive. However, as I said, this is voluntary, and the voluntary approach is complemented also by other initiatives of legal nature. But one does not exclude the other. I think we need to realize that some actions will be difficult to translate in law. For example, the shift to more plant-based products, the question of food affordability, pricing. These are issues that we expect and we count to see very much on a voluntary basis. But there are also many other proposals in the pipeline, a proposal for the mandatory front of pack nutrition labeling to enable consumers to make health-conscious food choices. Here work has already been undertaken. We have received many comments on the inception impact assessment. The Commission will carry out an impact assessment, and certainly at this stage, we have not yet decided in favor of one single harmonized scheme. I could say that comments were very, very useful that we received. The majority, however, considers that the front of pack should not be mandatory, but should remain voluntary. Establishment of nutrient profiles also is one of the actions which are in the pipeline. Minimum mandatory criteria for sustainable food procurement, a sustainable food labeling framework, the review of the EU promotion program for agri-food programs, but also the review of the EU school scheme with the aim to refocus the scheme on health and sustainable food. Now, we all know that the farm to fork strategy has introduced many individual actions that should contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, preservation of biodiversity, reduction of pesticide use, and healthy diets. But the strategy recognized that all these actions, neither alone nor in combination with each other, have the potential to fully ensure what we need, policy coherence at EU and national level, and also to mainstream the sustainability in all food-related policies. For this reason, the Farm to Fork strategy announced the adoption of a horizontal framework law. This law will aim to establish new foundations for the development of future food policies. It will introduce a definition of sustainability. We talk about sustainability, sustainable diets, sustainable production, but there is not a common understanding that will ensure a common also basis and a common approach. So it will come with a definition of sustainability, objectives and principles for sustainable food systems. It will define the responsibilities of the actors of food system, taking an integrated food system approach. Here we are going to publish, hopefully, an inception impact assessment that will be subject to feedback by the end of this month. I would like to mention also that this legislation will comprise the procurement criteria, mandatory criteria for public procurement, and also the food labeling framework. The aim of this labeling framework will be to achieve sustainable food consumption by stimulating consumer demand and also incentivizing food business operators to improve the sustainability of their food programs. This will be a major flagship initiative, and there we will need to make political choices regarding the definition of sustainability, what are the components of sustainability, and this will also determine the components of the labeling, the sustainable labeling framework, and the notion of sustainable diet. Achieving a sustainable diet, this was again mentioned by Mrs. Schneider, is linked with many socioeconomic and environmental factors, which are often controversial. Sustainable diet is often limited to environmental or healthy. But we need to think also whether economic, social aspects like fair trade, animal welfare, workers' rights, all these issues will have to be discussed. So socio-cultural factors behind our eating patterns will need to be considered. I think it is clear from all the discussion and very well said also by the introductory remarks that this transformation requires a cultural change at multiple levels. The way even we work, the way we think, we produce, distribute, and the way we consume food. We need interaction, communication to be constant. And I would like to finish with underlying the important role of education that has to start already now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think it's very impressive, the activities of the Commission, and that you gave us an overview of your targets and also the complex sides of the discussion. That is also the social aspect, not to forget. I think what we should not forget is also the consumers, the social aspect, because if I read a study, the first choice is how healthy is the food, but the second choice is already the price. And I think this is also a thing where we have to balance it, how to bring it that we're making not. There was another comment from Germany that the new class, you can see who can afford to buy the right sustainable food, who cannot, and goes to the cheap supermarket, and how to balance it that it's not excluding also consumers. But I think this we will discuss later. And we're coming now because Herbert Dorfmann wanted to join, but he gave yesterday evening a short message that he's at the EPP group meeting, and he's very sorry about this because he would like very much to participate, but now he has other duties. So we're coming directly to Isabella Maurizi, Head Sustainability and Environment, Eurocommerce. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for inviting Eurocommerce and for giving me the floor just now. I'm not going to overburden you with numbers, but I just wanted to just briefly recap what we stand for at Eurocommerce. So we represent both retailers and wholesalers. So it means that we are aware of impacting people's lifestyle beyond the consumer, but also through hospitality sector by delivering their food and other products. Overall in Europe, the sector is composed by 99% of small and medium enterprise. So I think we are on the right debate right now, and that will have an impact into also discussing how do we can we cooperate in order to uplift the main best practices. With that in mind, if I have one thing to highlight or one message to convey is that we are aware of the role of the sector and that retailers and wholesalers work hard with the suppliers to offer consumer access to fresh and sustainable products. We are playing an essential role into offering more organic and more sustainable products, but also to encourage healthy diets and a lifestyle. Indeed, as mentioned, there is increased trends towards demand and for more sustainable products, and we can definitely see that we are aware of the role and responsibility of the sector to support it. The COVID crisis has strengthened the recognition by consumers for having more access to healthy and sustainable lifestyle, diets being one of them, but it's go beyond. We've seen by working on a joint report with consultancy McKinsey entitled Willingness of Grocery Retail, it's called Disruption and Uncertainty, the state of grocery retail. There is a willingness to pay more for more healthy, environmental friendly and local products. The desire for sustainability is growing, but it's growing through different consumer categories as well. Indeed, the millennials tends to be more affected and more aware of their role in terms of recession behavior than other type of consumer, which will have an impact on the type of products we offer as well on the shelves. And indeed, the impact on sustainable products is also different depending on the category of products, and there is an increased interest on fresh foods being more sustainable. With that in mind, how does the sector and retailers and wholesalers put this awareness of their role and responsibility in practice? Well, I think company members have made a wide range of public commitments, and this is also boosted by daily actions. I want to point out that we are supportive of the Code of Conduct of Responsible Food Business and Marketing Practices, and my colleague have been working extensively with DG Santé Services to kind of support this drafting of the Code of Practice, but also to encourage our members to sign and commit publicly. So I think this kind of statement show the real recognition and responsibility of the sector. If I want to go into some details about the response and the anticipation of consumer demand, we can see it through three main approach. One is by having an impact directly on their own products. So how do we use reformulation to kind of provide more healthy and sustainable diets? That goes from reduction in the amount of salt, sugar, and fats in their own products, but also having access to more beneficial nutrients such as fiber and omega. There's our actions on information, and I want to insist on the word information because I'm not a student, I'm not a teacher, so I can't educate, but we can have different impact on information to consumer, should it be through nutrition and information campaign, but also by encouraging sustainable choices through recipe and through nurturing information. The way the store are being laid out or designed has also an impact, and that's kind of the on the ground and kind of background action that are being done. And last but not least, in terms of action done by the sector, we have to acknowledge the fact that we are encouraging healthy lifestyle beyond food. I think we are working also on also access to more healthy behavior outside of the diet part of it. But last but not least, I think we've seen it. It's not a one person alone solution. We really need to encourage this holistic approach that we've seen. How do we work with a supplier? How do we encourage farmers to meet growing demands on local and specific food? Will be kind of key to meet the sustainable diet challenge. How do we ensure that we have a holistic strategy? We've seen that some wholesalers are working hand in hand with hospitality and restaurant in order to have a holistic toolbox to provide a business to be more sustainable, including through food waste. I think food waste is not maybe recognized as much because it's been an activity where the sector has been extremely involved for many years. I mean, we have already in 2012 signed a charter on waste, including food waste. We have members looking at halving that food waste approach by 2025, so 5 years ahead of the Sustainable Development Goals. So I think it's maybe the reason why it's maybe not seen as much in the code of conduct. That said, the sector represents only 5% of the food waste. So there's really, the food waste is also an approach that is also happening at household level. But that's all what I wanted to say within the few minutes that I had. I think cooperation is key. Recognition of individual initiative is also a good way forward. And I'm happy to just engage with panelists.
Thank you very much for this perspective from the economy side, from the trade side. I think it's important that the consumer and also the producers, that they are interacting in a market who is fair and transparent, not misleading. I think this is, and I think this must be because the producers and traders who want to do this can only be successful if the market is fair. And if somebody can pretend to be healthy or sustainable and the other is healthy and sustainable, then it is not fair in competition. But I think it's more complicated. We're coming also to Dr. Giros Risvas, because if we're discussing honey, it's a lot of sugar, but somehow a natural product and healthy. So we have, it's sometimes not so easy to say all the time what is healthy and how you can promote it, but how we can educate people to make them the right choices if they can inform them fair and transparent. Please, the floor is yours. Sorry, I have to say, you are honorary vice president of the European Federation of the Associations of
Dietitians.
Yes. Now, thank you that you helped me. Please, the floor is yours.
You're welcome, and good morning to everyone, and thank you. I would like to thank the SME Connect and especially the working group on nutrition and health for offering us in IFAD the possibility of taking part in this debate. Well, it's not only a matter of education, I would say. It is a matter of creating the right environment where the education that we can give to our younger citizens, our students at schools, and also to our older and senior citizens with various actions we can have for the community in order for this kind of education to be able to transform to an alternative, a different way of a different lifestyle, actually. But we are at the right place and at the right time, I would say. We have the opportunity in Europe to become the engine of global transformation. We have the European Green Deal, which provides support to the Farm to Fork strategy, and this strategy wants to facilitate the transition towards healthier and more sustainable food systems, reducing the impact of production and consumption, and to improve availability and affordability of healthy and sustainable foods. So this is the target. We have heard from Ms. Nikolakopoulou some of the initiatives that are already in place. We at IFAD, we have already sent our comments on the code of conduct. Some of them have been incorporated in the final document. We are supportive of it. It is a very good first step. We need, of course, to do to take more steps. Well, this strategic approach, I would say, from farm to fork requires the commitment of all of us. There are core changes that should be brought about not only by shifting dietary patterns towards a more plant-based diet, but also by decreasing the intake of what we would call ultra-processed food. And this is something that still needs to be better defined. Also, we need to minimize food waste, to raise food literacy, try using more green public procurement tools. We have started with a very good document on this from the Maltese presidency some years ago, but we still need to make to take some more further steps around green public procurement. There are a lot of actions and proposals that are already mentioned in IFAD's white paper on sustainable health through the lifespan. You can find the white paper on our webpage. And also we have a new position statement on sustainable dietary patterns, which is being published as we speak. We will also be covering these issues as European Federation of the Associations of Dietitians on our newly introduced webinar series on sustainable and healthy diets. We have our first webinar on the 16th of September, so that would be next week. This one would be on introducing the concept and the context of sustainable healthy diets. And the second one, again in September, in 29th of the month, on current policies and global initiatives on sustainable and health diets. Also, our International Confederation of Dietetic Associations, ICCA, they had their conference last week, and they have also published, ICCA has also published a toolkit on how to move to a more sustainable diet, which is also very interesting to use. So there are some tools from our side as implementers, I would say, but there are also very good initiatives and good practices that are out there. There are initiatives to inform about seasonal products and facilitate accessibility to local food, because when we are talking about sustainability, local food production is a key issue. It's a key issue because we want to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions generated by the transportation. We also, because also Ms. Snyder referred to labeling, we also think that it is very important to have information on the origin of its food product, but also on the production methods on the label. So a part of the eco label, let's say, that we would like to see, besides the one on nutrition information, that should have the information on origin of food and production, because this can enable consumers to select healthier and more sustainable foods, not only for their impact on the environmental aspect, but also for the social and economic dimension, because when we are talking about sustainability, it's good to have a more holistic approach. So it's not only about the environment, it's also about the people, the economy, the social system. There are also examples by retailers and wholesalers There is, of course, a great potential there to influence the health of the consumers and the food system. There are some attempts that we see mainly in Scandinavian countries. WeFood is a good example. They are mainly on organic food and sustainable fish, but also about local suppliers in order to cut what we would call the food miles. There are also initiatives that are focused on food loss, and food waste is or should be a major part of this whole new trend, I would say. So yeah, we need to have an equal, I would say, interest and give equal weight to food waste and not to the food that we leave on the plate, and not only the food that we consume. I've already referred to green public procurement. An example would be what they do in Denmark in the municipality of Copenhagen. They have an organic agenda that linked to the procurement of all the 900 kitchens that they have across the city. There are another big issue, key issue, would be the national food-based guidelines. So the food-based guidelines that each country has should take into account sustainability issues as well. And in this way, we would have a much more realistic guide on what would be sustainable eating for its different country, because it depends on the geographic region that you are, on the food production and agricultural production that the country already has. So we cannot, let's say, talk about a Mediterranean diet style in the northern countries. We have to do, and that is why we have the Nordic diet paradigm. So you know, we need to get the basic principles and tailor make them onto practical guidelines for its country, or at least for its European region, or for its geographic region. There are also other good examples having to do with farming, but this is not my area of expertise. So in order to sum up, of course, the time is now to move to a more sustainable pattern. It is in our hands to take part in reducing food waste, in adopting healthier diets, supporting businesses with responsible and sustainable practices, of course. We need to raise food literacy. We need to educate the public in order to know what is inside the food and what are our nutritional needs and how we can cover them. Sorry. We have to integrate sustainability in food-based dietary guidelines, as I told you. And last but not least, we need policymakers and governments, and this is something that the EU is working towards. They should be bold to integrate sectoral policies that affect food production, processing, distribution, and consumption, so that we can regulate food systems not only to halt the impact in the environment, but also to protect rural resilience, to prevent NCDs and reduce health and inequalities. And I would like to close with this message. We need to make the consumer feel empowered, feel that they have the power to make these changes. So we must educate them, but we must also give them ample chances, ample opportunities to change their behavior. Thanks a lot.
I just have the feeling that unfortunately we have connection issues.
No, host is here. Yeah, okay.
I'm here. Yes, thank you very much. I think this was now a deeper insight how we got on the consumers, but it is also that we have to change the full chain. But I'm always thinking, starting in the debate, lifestyle changing. I think this is always difficult. I tried it several times, never happened. I feel me very well informed, but I'm not doing this what I should. So what is the target when we make this decision, when we want to have a sustainable food chain? The target is, we see the new generation here, the millennials, who has another behavior. What we are doing now with the older generations who are perhaps not so flexible anymore, or this is always good to say, what is the practical side? Is it so that we have to focus on the food industry and then to push there to make the products better, and then the consumer has no other choice? Or we want really to say, okay, we try our best and we see in the end what the consumer wants? Please.
Well, if I can start, I mean, first of all, as a little advice, don't start your healthy lifestyle or new habits on the 1st of January. It never works. But in terms of how can we engage, I think it's always a matter of finding this fine balance about how do we support the people that are doing great and offer a wider range also for others to kind of push them towards being more sustainable. And we can do what we can as a sector, but we also have an influence that is limited to where we have an impact. So we can help having good sustainable behavior within the purchasing decision, but we just can't just go beyond and help people at home beyond just suggestion and recipes and so on. So I think indeed it's really a balance to see how do we contribute to healthy lifestyle. I would like to just answer to Dr. Rifas in terms of best practices. I mean, let me advertise for a website that we've done called Sustainable Commerce, where we have kind of gathered the best practices of the good practices of retailers and wholesalers towards sustainable food. And you will see that it's not only the Nordic countries that contribute to it, and you will see that we contribute through working with local partners, should it be with trust development in the Nordics, but also to kind of having a direct line with the suppliers in southern countries of Europe. Also contributed to food waste by having partnership with startups, but also by having some promotion as well to kind of educate consumer between the date marking requirements, the difference between best before and consume by, this kind of things that we know at EU level, but needs also to be kind of spread across the general public as well. I think is quite important. I want to also mention that we work with suppliers, but also when it comes to net profit margin on the agribusiness, it's been shown that the retail and wholesale sector only account for 1 to 2% profit margin. So we make food affordable up till where we can. It's a holistic approach, and it would be too easy to just say we need to do this and we have one single bullet solution. I think it's good that we engage in this debate to find the right decision and the right solution.
Thank you very much. When we go to the supplier chains, we go perhaps also to trade. We have here not only European agricultural products from outside the world. We want to eat local, but not always is local more sustainable. This depends here on the time. But how we interact with other regions like Africa is it's not good anymore if I want as a consumer product to buy products, agricultural products from Africa. But we have always a discussion, open the markets for third world countries or for emergent markets that they can introduce the products to us. How really I make a choice, and I think Nicola Coppola makes it real, how we can bring this sustainable idea together with the social idea. I think this is always a very complicated point. How making fair trade means also for me making open the markets for other producers in the world, because we are in the vice versa, we are selling a lot of agriculture and food products to the world. How we can solve this problem? Perhaps yes, please.
Well, I can try. I think there is not, you raise here the issue of two issues. One, which has to do also with international trade, because we operate in a global world. We are talking about local and support of the local, but this does not mean that we close the borders or that we stop exporting products. I would make the difference between maybe local and short supply chains. So because it's different. So what we are really also looking is short supply chains can be sometimes more sustainable, but not local necessarily. So we have to make the distinction between the two. I also think that here we have to say that these are one of the challenges. How do we combine the different dimensions of the sustainability and the tensions that are part of the sustainability? This is the challenge. This does not mean that we abandon our objective, but we have to find ways to mitigate the effects. Sometimes we have to make some bold political choices, but otherwise we really need to find a way to support initiatives. Europe is really determined to lead this transformation, sustainability, also at global level. And we have started. I think that what we did and we will do also in the UN Food Summit by promoting the code of conduct, by also what we have already started to include chapters on food sustainability in bilateral agreements, trade agreements, but with the support measures that we provide to development countries, training, other measures. This shows that we would like also third countries to follow. But we cannot tackle sustainability only in Europe. It is not possible. But we cannot impose also our standards legally on the world. We have to bring third countries with us. But as I said, sometimes I think we have to be also bold in some decisions and make choices. When we talk about child labor, tomorrow, for example, we will have the discussion about the labeling. What does it include? Somebody has said, are we going to label child labor? Me, I ask myself, and this is, do we want child labor to be labeled, or we simply do not want products that are produced by child labor? Or should this become a minimum requirement and not an issue to be tackled with the labeling? On the labeling, we are going to say less or more sugar, but we are not going to say less or more child labor. For me, child labor should not be there. And this maybe it applies to the EU, but why we should compromise this when it comes to third countries? Questions. I do not have the answers, but I think these are.
I think it's very complicated to also to control, and yes, it makes sense. It can be not more or less child work or something. This is a general. This is a fundamental question.
Yes.
Mr. Rieswas, Dr. Rieswas. If we're going deeper, if we say to the lifestyle, stress is one of the main problems of today. We have no time. If we're saying now we want to be healthy, cooking everything local, but is this the reality? Is this not also sometimes we buying food who is prepared, or we buying food supplements or whatever? Is this sometimes also an option what we say, yeah, we have to fit according, really also give messages where the people can really also live with, that they say it's okay once to have a food box, buy it in the supermarket or prepared food, or to make one's food supplements because I have no time, better than to buy French fries and eating this fast. Is this an option, please?
Of course it is. Of course it is. And that is why we are talking about fresh and local food, or better food coming from a short food chain. But we are not talking about, not eating any kind of processed food, because, processing is something that we really need in today's society. It makes food safer and healthier. So, yeah, of course, we are not in any way against processing, but we need to have, as much processing as necessary. So yes, of course, there is also a business opportunity here for retailers, even for big businesses, but of course for SMEs, to try to put this whole idea in a package, in a lunchbox, and the technology is here. There are a lot of ways to do that. There is funding, and there are ways of there are economic incentives to help this kind of businesses to create this kind of solutions. So yes, of course, by all means, we have to cook and to eat at home as much as we can, but knowing our lifestyles, there is also and there should be also a good alternative from a solution that we can buy in the local supermarket. So yeah, by all means, but I am not sure if we have come to this point today. There are certain choices and certain solutions that we can find on our supermarket shelf, but I would say that these are not enough, and this should be accessible price-wise, money-wise, to everyone, in order not to boost social inequalities. While today, that the healthier food, the organic food, these kind of solutions tend to be more expensive. So this is something also that we should be working on, governments and industry, in order to make it more affordable, this kind of solutions and lunch boxes to everyone.
I think this is a very good thing, because normally we discuss also taxation on sugar, taxation on fat, but to make the good things cheaper is perhaps the better solution than to make the bad things. Because I have to say, we saw this in Denmark, the fat taxation was now skipped in the past, and it's not very popular at the end. And I think to give the I would say, the consumers better opportunities, choices is better than to force him to something. But we're coming to the last round, we are in the end. I think everybody has the possibility for an end statement, perhaps, and summarizing a wish he wants to have. And Maurizi, you were the first who wanted to say something, then you're starting with this round.
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to thank you all for this very fruitful discussion, for this recipe for success, if I must say. I think we have touched upon what we as a sector are trying to convey as a message in terms of providing a better range of products that is also responding to this demand for sustainable diets. Indeed, having some free-form type of processed food from reformulation, but also using the opportunity to fight food waste to kind of provide a second life for ugly fruit, or ugly vegetable to make soups, for instance. So it's close to ready-made, but it's also fresh. So we have this kind of opportunity. I think indeed taxation, or I would say fiscal incentive, could help. Can we reward in the fiscal taxes people just going for sustainable habits, with voucher, with tax reduction on their remuneration, for instance, same as what we do with some charities as well. These are some food for thought. And last but not least, indeed, cooperation with the third countries is of essence here, because we won't have sustainable mangoes or bananas coming from Europe. So we really need to go for cooperation with third countries. So we know that we kind of uplift the sustainability in those countries rather than just diverting unsustainable products to other markets, because at the end of the day, it goes beyond the European solutions. And with that, I'm just going to leave the floor to others. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you very much. And now, Dr. Wiswas, please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you again for giving me the opportunity to be part of this debate. It has been very interesting. I would say. I would once more would like to stress the fact that we need to change our food-based dietary guidelines around Europe and incorporate sustainability as a notion in them. In order to be able to adopt healthy and sustainable eating patterns. Also, as far as labeling is concerned, we may see now that we need a label to promote healthy choices, but when we are talking about healthy choices, we must also take into account the environmental factors. So oversimplifying labels would not be a positive step. We need to give more information on the label and educate European citizens to be able to not only to read it, but also to use the info that is on the label. Again, sustainable public procurement and working on affordability and accessibility of sustainable and healthy foods is key. And of course, when we are talking about fiscal incentives, we're not talking about only about taxes, but we are also talking about lowering the prices of the products, of the foods that we would like European consumers to consume. And again, and finally, there are solutions in agri technology. We must work more closely with our farmers to give them feedback on what the consumers want and help them into creating new solutions if these are not there.
Thank you very much. And now at the end, Alexandra Nicolaopoulos. Now the statement of the summarizing of the Commission, please.
Yes. No, what I would like to say is that sustainable diets and shifting consumer eating patterns is certainly key. There are many ways to do it, and there are many factors which influence that. We have to really focus on the food environment, which means that we have to work all together. It's not only the solution with the labeling, it's not only education, it's the responsibility of the governments, of the local governments, of cities, of food manufacturers, food retailers, and the responsibility also of consumers themselves. How you mentioned lifestyles. How do we change lifestyles? This is which influence very much the choices. It is a big question. The question of prices, I think it's important. I think there are retailers, as we have Eurocommerce here, they have a role to play also to certainly not promote with cheap prices food which are not sustainable. And we are happy to see Eurocommerce engaged and the members of Eurocommerce engaged in this debate. However, also when it comes to prices, I think we have to remember that what we need is systematic changes. Systematic changes will ensure that the sustainable foods which are placed on the EU market will become mainstream for all parts of the society. When it becomes mainstream, this will also long-term reduce the prices. And I think the negative influence of production on the environment and on the health should be in the end reflected on the prices. Above all, we should see all these transformations also as an opportunity of change that will bring long-term benefits. And I continue to believe that we are on a good path. And I'm happy to see engagement of all the stakeholders at EU level on this effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm thinking also that Europe is in a good way and the European Commission is doing a good job on this. But I think what I learned out of this very good discussion, it's starting with everybody, starting with your own decisions. And I think if we can inform us, everybody should adapt and think twice how he is eating and what he's consuming. And if everybody's doing a little bit change, not 100%, but a little bit, I think we come in a huge step forward. Change is beginning always with the first step. Thank you very much and have a nice day. And it was a pleasure. I think there's so much to say still, but we need for this another session. Please. Thank you very much.
Just one more thing from my side before we end this webinar. I would also like to thank our speakers for lending their expertise, and thank you all for joining us for this interesting discussion today. For those who couldn't stay the entire time, this webcast was recorded and will be shared with you once the recording has uploaded on YouTube. For more information on our working groups and upcoming events, please visit our website at smeconnect.eu. And yes, thank you very much for attending again, and I wish everyone a great day too. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.